Thank you. Well, listening to the speakers in front of me, I'm the third banker. I've worked all my life at the Central Bank of the Netherlands, so stock exchange, venture capital. And I disagree that venture capital cannot support patient organization because the central bank is basically supporting me. Now, Welling, 2009, facilitated me with 60% of my time as an employee of the central bank to do the work as a patient advocate. So you got a job to do. 1984, I graduated as a library, and basically, although I work all my life in finance, I've never left the library. So I want to start with you reading a small piece from a book written by Tolstoy, War and Peace, that describes exactly what's going on. So, who was it? The question churned in Pierre's mind. Who was executing him, murdering him, depriving him of life? He, Pierre, with all his memories, all his yearnings, all his thoughts, all his hope. Who could be doing this? Pierre felt that it was no person, only a system, a confluence of circumstances. An impersonal system was killing him. Pierre, taking his life, robbing him of everything. War and Peace, 1867, Tolstoy. The big question is not whether we do good research. We do good research. Basically, we do excellent research. Like I said, I was facilitated to travel around the globe visiting the best researchers in the world. And these best researchers are partly here in the Netherlands. We are excellent in research. We are lousy in innovation of the clinical practice. A couple of weeks ago on Dutch television, there was women with dense breast tissue. We give them a mammography and we know for 10 years that you cannot see a tumor in dense breast tissue. Our approach is we don't tell it the woman that she has dense breast tissue, and we say, well, we see no cancer. They don't say you have no cancer. We tell them we see no cancer, which is a correct answer. You need an MRI. That's what we know for 10 years. But we do not implement it. I'll show you my history. I was diagnosed with a lymphoma in 2005, January 7th. I had my treatments in 2005. I had a relapse in 2006. I got another treatment with chemotherapy. I had a relapse in 2007. I had a relapse in 2008. What I needed was an allogenic stem cell transplantation. In March, April, May 2008, I had 1 week each month high-dose chemotherapy. And the preparation for the allogenic stem cell transplantation failed. I only had 50% of tumor reduction. So my physician, Marie-José Kersten, said, because of your physical condition, we can make it a tandem transplantation. So June 18, I had an autologic stem cell transplantation. 2.5 months later, I had the final one, an allogenic stem cell transplantation. I owe my life to science and sport. The science needed to produce these excellent treatments, and the sport to keep me in an extreme good physical condition so that I could survive the treatments and survive the tumor. I still live with a tumor. Twice a year I have my checks in the Amsterdam Medical Center, but I live my life with 100% quality of life. I owe my life to science that was implemented and sport. Still like sport, still like science. I set up first Alpe d'Huez. Quite some research has been funded by that. We are close to 300 million. In 2010, as a give back, I started Inspire2Live, a global patient advocacy organization, now with approximately 100 volunteers, professional volunteers in 44 countries all around the globe, sharing their knowledge. In our organization, the knowledge from Laila, an assistant professor in Mashhad, Iran, is shared with Dampier, Tel Aviv, Israel. Still, Inspire2Live is about sharing, about connecting, about working together, looking for what is the real problem we need to solve. And then we come up with an idea, an initiative, a project. In 2011, we had our first annual congress. The two first speeches I will never forget. The first one was from Bob Weinberg, one of the best fundamental researchers on cancer biology. And he said to the audience, you know, I've stared all my life through a microscope looking at cancer cells. But one thing is for sure, preventing that you get cancer is much more effective than treating, from his perspective. The second one is for you. The second speech was from José Baselga. And we worked with Baselga till his death. His quote is, "We are not meant to be here for 1 or 2 months of life extension. We can do better. Medicines that don't reach the patient don't cure. We can do better." We like that. It transformed our organization from an organization with only patient and patient advocates into an organization that has, of course, patient advocates. Atefe, you heard her. Katel, she's in the room. Ilona, Henk, different backgrounds, researchers, physicians, people working in industry, people with a legal background, know about regulation. That is Inspire2Live. Reflect the medical industrial complex. Because we knock on that door and say, hey, Baselga told us, we can do better. That quote is powerful because it says one thing. It says two things. Patients don't want to live 2 months longer, or 6 months longer, or 12 months longer. Patients want to live until they're 87 and have a good quality of life. That's your job. And that is exactly what Baselga meant. You don't work your ass off 40, 50 years and conclude at the end of your career, hey, we can save the life of a mouse with pancreatic cancer. No. You need to be proud on your work. Maria Zekeste is proud on her work. She saved my life. That is what we're here for. To take care that we not only do good research, not only produce good treatments, but that we bring them to patients. And that is a responsibility that we all have. The more you're distracted from patients, the easier a decision is taken. Imagine the nurse on my bed, 3 o'clock in the night, cleaning up my mess and having a discussion with me. That is what nurses do. That is what doctors do. But the management of the department is further away from the patient. Management of the hospital is further away from the patient. Pharma is further away from the patient. Venture capital is further away from the patient. It's very easy to make a decision about the life of patients where you're very far away from them, when you're distracted. Talking about cooperation is not enough. That's what I go get a patient. Like the Hollywood movies. In a Western, when they need an Indian to get shot of a pony, the director shouted, "Go get an Indian." Co-design. If the outcome of a medicine is that you extend the life 2 months or 6 months and we have to pay 100,000 euros for that medicine, don't approve it for market. You can do a better job. We can do a better job. Cooperation. Real cooperation, I give you an example. Joep Lange. Last week, Ilona and I were in Kenya, in a hospital, and we saw his photograph. Ilona and I worked with Joep Lange. Joep Lange was responsible, together with a couple of other brilliant minds, for the first combination therapy, 1996. He went to the Minister of Health, Els Borst, with 6 AIDS patients. And he said to Els, "Els, we have the combination therapy, it works, but we're not allowed to give it to patients because of your department. These patients are dead in 3 months. What are you going to do?" And Els Borst, brilliant physician, said, "Joep, you're going to treat these patients, we're not going to let them die, and I'll take care of this in my hospital." Quite some employees were very angry with her, and her response was simple: "I know you're angry with me, but you don't have AIDS." That was real cooperation. Now, like I said, cooperation, talking about cooperation is not what it needs to be. And also what it doesn't need to be is only the coalition of what I call the coalition of the willing. As we are together here, there is no 1 second of doubt in my head that we want to do good. But we fail continuously. We need to have the ones who pull the strings into our cooperation. Like I said, I work in finance. We now pay with the euro, most countries in Europe. Transferring money from Amsterdam to Rotterdam is exactly the same as transferring it from Amsterdam to Berlin or Paris or wherever. That was real cooperation. And listening to citizens and listening to enterprises what was needed. It was EU Commissioner Bolkestein, a liberal, who had done his homework and listened to these citizens and enterprises, etc. But he knew, I cannot do this alone. Together with the president of the European Central Bank, Wim Duisenberg, from the Social Democrats, and with the Bank for International Settlements, at that moment the president was Nout Welling, a Christian Democrat, 3 Dutchmen. It's not because they're Dutch, but 3 Dutchmen with different political backgrounds at the 3 centers of power: European Central Bank, European Commission, and the Bank for International Settlements. For the ones who doesn't know what the Bank for International Settlements do, that's the most powerful organization when it comes to finance. All regulation is made in the Bank for International Settlements, and there is no supervision on the Bank of International Settlements. But these 3 men took care of this. It was 1999. It took 15 years, 2014, and then SEPA was realized. Coalition of the willing is necessary because we need to know what we need to do, how we need to do it, etc. But we have to bring in the ones who pull the strings, which are regulators. And it's good news that I heard that Oncode works with regulators. You have to work with industry. Industry needs to be part of Oncode. Bring them in so that the moment you can start producing medicine, that industry can start. You will find ways how that works. Never say that it's not possible. Impossible is nothing. What has happened over years is so much regulation, so much legal stuff into our work. Dick van Beckham was the one who did the research for the stem cell transplantation. I worked with him until the death of Dick, July 17, 2015. The way he worked, not possible anymore. After doing his work for the stem cell transplantation in mice and chimpanzees, he had to go to the human beings. Well, he was not allowed, of course, because he was a scientist. So he worked with Jon van Rood. And they both started in children with an immune deficiency. 200 first died. Number 201, he told me when I first visited him, November 4th, 2008. Number 201 stayed alive. And 2 weeks before our meeting, they celebrated the birthday of Johan together with his wife and 2 kids. The way he worked is not possible anymore. I just finished the biography of Willem Kolff, the inventor of the artificial organs. 1945, the first artificial kidney was used in a human being. The woman stayed alive for 8 hours, but it was a success. It was the first success. The problem was not patients. When he asked for patients that wanted to assist in that experiment, he could choose out hundreds of patients. Patients are willing to contribute. The beautiful first movie that you saw, please listen to that. The woman said, I want to contribute. Even if I will not survive, at least I can do something that helps the people that come after me. Patients want to contribute. The data of patients, it was also said this afternoon, patients don't even want to agree with you to use their data. Joep Lange worked with Roel Coutinho. Roel Coutinho was at that moment head of a laboratory. He had 500 blood samples of homosexual AIDS patients. If he would have asked his boss, can I use them? His boss would have said no. So he simply didn't ask. But it contributed to the combination therapy. So that is what we all need to do. Cooperate in a real will and get the patient in the design phase, not only at the end. Not only partly comment on your work, work with them. And if they say, we do not want medicines that extend our life for 2 months with a bad quality of life, stop it. It will improve the failure rate in phase 3 at least. Baselga passed away because of Creutzfeldt-Jakob 2.5 years ago. There is a wonderful documentary about his work, his passion for patients. It starts with a patient that is visiting Baselga, a woman, a poet, American poet. And the first 10 minutes, that woman said, Baselga asked, how do you write a poem? I've read your work, but I do not know how you do it. And after 10 minutes, they started talking about her disease. Baselga passed away, sadly enough, an innovator. And I want to close with his work, because his last words in the documentary is your assignment. Your assignment. Who is going to be next? Remember, he was dying of Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Who is going to be next? What are you going to do to move the field forward? Because we are in an urgent need to make sure that the technology continues to be developed and applied to patients. Because medicines that don't reach the patient don't cure. Thank you.